Larry Jon Wilson was a very soulful, outlaw country singer-songwriter from Georgia. He was part of that whole outlaw country movement, but he was the Georgia guy, kind of, or one of them. I would think in about the mid-'70s is when he quit his day job and learned to play the guitar at about the age of 30, which his guitar style was unlike anyone's. If you listen to this guy's guitar playing, like, I don't even know anyone that can play like that. It's very strange, very rhythmic, finger style. And his songs were story songs. And he was a huge influence on me, just a massive influence. From the first time I met him, it was almost like a second dad kind of thing. He took me right under his wing, you know, when I was in my early 20s and just starting to kind of try to find my own voice as a singer and a songwriter. So Larry Jon was real important to me, still is.
So the people watching this might know of him through Heartworn Highways.
Right.
Did he ever talk about the making of that?
He did, yeah.
What stories did he share?
Well, first of all, his opening, that one of the, I think it's the second scene after Guy Clark's opening song, is Larry Jon in the studio recording his song Old Hoopy River Bottom Land, or Oh Hoopy, and which is a real Georgia gator hole that you can jump across, and which he says. And he's told me since that, he said, I was so hungover, I'd stayed up the night before, probably with Christopherson, who he was hanging out with a lot. And he said, we'd go off in my red pickup truck, and Christopherson's wife at the time would be mad at him for leaving, and we'd party all night, and then I'd have to get up and record the next morning, you know, and he goes, that's what you're catching in that documentary is my total terrible hangover. And that poor guitar player, I can't remember who it is, he's a famous player. He's doing a lick, and you can tell that it really gets Larry Jon in his ear, you know. And we all know how that is, but I can't imagine after his level of party. He used to drink 50 beers a day, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh,
he could really put it in. And him and Towns were really good friends, real dear friends. Wow. And
so when Guy or Towns would come down, play in Atlanta, they would hook up with him probably?
Larry Jon was always with them when they were around Georgia, and they also would play New York at the bitter end together, the three of them. And there's a great story where Larry Jon and Towns are staying at the Gramercy Park Hotel in New York, which is a place I like to stay too. It's because they got trees outside, you know. I learned that from Larry Jon. He goes, always when you're in New York City or Chicago, try to get you a hotel that has a tree outside your window.
It's good life advice.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I love that about him. And he said, yeah, stay at the Gramercy Park Hotel. And Larry Jon's voice is it was about an octave deeper than mine. And it was very deep, natural bass voice. He said, well, one time I was at the Gramercy Park Hotel, and Towns was crashed on the couch. He said, I got up and was hungry, ready for some breakfast. And I said, Towns, what you want to eat? And he said, maybe a couple of Bloody Marys. And he says, I ain't gonna buy you 2 Bloody Marys for breakfast. You're gonna have to eat something. And he said, okay, 2 Bloody Marys, extra celery. So that was, Larry Jon had a lot of those Towns, that kind of thing, you know, where they were very close. He called me the day he died.
The day Towns died?
He did. He said, my buddy died today, and I was like, wow, man. And it was kind of intense because he was very close to him and had known him through the whole deal, you know. He told me basically how it happened and all that, but it was sad. But Larry Jon was just an amazing character, and he's since passed on too. But he was a lot of people, the people that know about him, you know, really get it. Like a real storyteller. That's where I would have never written Lullaby, my song that people know me from, if it hadn't been for Larry Jon Wilson. And people probably don't know that, or Chris Christopherson. These kind of recitative type storytellers, songwriters. That's kind of what I come from, even though it may not look like it.
Did they talk about how he met Towns and Guy? Like, how was he connected with these Houston people?
I think it was through just his early travels of doing it, and also them playing in places where he was. I think they would come across each other in Nashville as well.
Yeah.
I think in Nashville they would come across each other because Larry John got his deal with Monument Records. Buckhorn Publishing, I think, was the same as Christopherson's, and so I think that those guys were all hanging. I don't think it was all the same thing, but they were all around each other, probably at the same bars too. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how they first met though. I bet someone knows.
Yeah. Did he ever move to Nashville?
Oh yes, Larry John was in Nashville for all of his records that he made there for Monument CBS. So he made, I think, 4 albums, and Fred Foster produced, and they were pretty big productions. Yeah. Lots of horns, lots of singers, lots of strings, all that. And really, the best way to hear Larry John is just with him and his guitar. It was.
I feel that way about most of those cats and
right.
Those records.
Yeah.
But I get it. They were trying to get a hit.
Sure. Trying to do something. I feel the same way. Yeah. All of them sound the best if it's just them and a guitar. I believe that too. I think, yeah. So he was one of those where you just go, you can't even hear the way he plays on some of the records, and he was such a phenomenal guitar player. He had this thing that he did like this, where this finger's hitting this way, thumb's hitting back this way, and they'll slap. And so there's like a little bit of a strum, a little bit of a slap feeling, very rhythmic. I've never seen anyone else do it. It's very cool.
Yeah. When you describe it, I'm thinking of some golf blues kind of thing. But then when you play that, that's a whole different groove.
Yeah, because the groove is so it's very soulful, funky.
Yeah.
He's doing funk stuff, but it's like, the way he's doing it, it's kind of a mix between Bill Withers and some kind of, like you were saying, some kind of almost blues thing that,
Yeah.
Very cool.
So he was probably around a lot of that as it was bubbling up in Atlanta.
I think so, and of course he grew up outside. He wasn't in Atlanta, and I knew that he told me he helped develop what was to be known as fiberglass. So he was a chemist first, and then when he quit his job and wanted to just go for it and try to make it as a musician, and he was just starting to learn how to play guitar. It's really just kind of crazy. I mean, I've taken some leaps in my life, yeah. But you got a couple of kids and a wife, and you do that. That's a leap.
Yeah, I've given up some jobs, but I've never given up chemist money.
and he worked at the bomb plant too. He always called it the bomb plant outside of Augusta, Georgia. It might be in Aiken, South Carolina. It's right around that spot, where they they did something that, they worked with uranium or something like that. He's always talking about the bomb plant, and Al's he had that great song that he actually didn't write. Another guy from Augusta, which Larry John mostly spent his time in Augusta. His house was right next to James Brown's old house, and but he lived there without. I don't think he paid rent. I think he was house sitting for this lady that owned that house, and he's house sat for like 30 years.
Wow.
And just kind of watched her house and make sure it was maintained, and that's kind of how he had a place to live. But he spent a lot of time on the road, just like all of us do,
Yeah. Did Billy Strings just cut the song that you were mentioning earlier?
What I heard Billy Strings do live not too long ago in Atlanta was Scuppin' on Wine, and I heard him do Broomstraw Philosophers is the name of the song, I think. Broomstraw Philosophers and Home Squeeze Scuppin' on Wine is a Larry John song. And I heard him do that live. Now, he may have recorded Old Hoopy River or Al's Place or one of those. I don't know.
On the LarryJohnWilson.com website,
yeah,
it says that.
Cool.
But, or it says maybe he played it live. I don't remember which. And
Yeah.
I have this thing where as soon as you say, I don't know, then I think I'm completely wrong.
Well,
That's the Midwesterner in me.
Well, the one I did see that he played live in Atlanta, and he talked about him being a Georgia writer, and he did Broomstraw Philosophers, which is really cool. Yeah.
How would that would have to be amazing if he was around to witness that.
Oh,
After
yeah.
all of these years, and to have an artist playing arenas.
Yeah.
You know.
He was even that way with my success. And when my thing blew up, he was so proud and so sweet. And then he would tell everybody that I've got the biggest song in the world right now. My friend Shawn Mullins has got the biggest song in the world, you know. And it was so sweet. Yeah. He was like that. He was, he loved, but also, yes, of course, if someone recognized his music, which of course, I was always doing his songs. So he loved that, yeah.
Well, if somebody wanted to go listen to his stuff, what would be the best thing to point somebody towards right now to?
I would go, and you can skip when I'm on it, but the Bluebird, live at the Bluebird, when he and I did it, that's him solo. And I pretty much stay out of the way. I do my best just to like listen, and it's hard because you want to get in on it because the music's just so wonderful. But that was a wonderful night. They made 2 shows out of it, and it was supposedly the most requested of those, which I had a hard time believing, but someone said that.
Really?
It was the most requested of those live at the Bluebirds on Turner South they were doing at that time. So that's a great one on YouTube. You can find it now. And just go to the Larry John songs and you'll see the deal.
Those are fun to watch because you see people in the audience and you're kind of like, hey, that's David Olney.
Right.
Or you see, wait, that's Justin Earl and he's like 13 or something.
That's right. That's right. The audience was full of and it's like that always there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.